Okay, I guess we are live now. Good morning, everybody. Wendell with Bigfoot 911. I got me a couple of good guests here this morning just to get the day started. Got Mr. Greg House and Roger,
You
the
you don't know my
Watch It.
last name.
He just drawed a blank. He just drawed a blank.
I do it all the time.
Hey,
Well,
sometimes I
Roger,
forget my
the,
own.
Yeah, it's Roger Jameson.
No
no,
doubt.
no. I wouldn't put that on nobody, not even Spencer.
Man,
No, hey, if you're gonna do these shows, you're gonna have to. When you have your brain cramps like that, just it's like I am.
Roll
I
with it.
laugh about it and move on. It happens.
yeah,
Exactly. Oh,
Hell, I ain't 24 years old no more, so
no doubt.
I
Wendell,
don't.
what in the world? What are you doing a show so early in the morning for?
I got my times mixed up this morning, so I got everything set up, and now I decided I was going to go live regardless.
yeah.
There you go.
Well, I heard my because Greg knows I don't answer if I have all my stuff turned down, and if you call and I don't hear it, I heard something. I looked over and Wendell had that messenger, and some reason I knew what it was about too. But Greg, what did I tell you last night? I said I was going to volunteer to go on Wendell's show, and I might
Yeah,
holler at him tomorrow. He's psychic.
no doubt.
Well, like I
Yeah.
said, great minds think alike.
Spider-Man senses.
But
Oh,
what we talking about today?
Oh, what do you want to talk about?
Mm,
The
don't get us
uh,
started.
yeah.
well, some folks have decided they're going to camp during the uh, weekend of the conference where they can come up and see it and then stay at the campsite. And I think Mark decided he was going to move his live over to the campsite for Friday evening.
Okay.
I don't.
So,
I
Now is that
we'll see if we can make it. If I do, it'll be like for like a half a day or something like last time.
yeah. Well, you
yeah,
did.
I know that. That's in June, right?
Yeah, June the 6th
Yeah, I don't.
So folks
We'll
still got
see.
plenty of they still got plenty of time. So
to make up their minds. Yeah.
yeah, they got a
And
little over 2 months.
And
and
I got a
I'm
thing on Facebook on my group that uh, they're wanting people that's going to be at the campsite to notify them where they can figure out if they're going to have a permit or not.
yeah. Well, I know. I'm gonna tell y'all. And Greg knows this. Um, Hollins gives me the what Spencer and Greg said the creepy feels. I don't know what it is about that place, but there's a few places that, I mean, I'll go and everything, but I don't believe I'd be out there bow hunting by myself.
No, I know. I don't get no creepy feeling there, but that big oak that I went to,
Yeah,
I pulled in there and I was got the feeling I should not be there at all. So I turned around and left. I didn't even take time to take pictures or nothing. But when
yeah.
I went back the second time, everything felt okay. I took a couple of pictures of the campsite. It wasn't that big. I don't understand what was around there that had me freaked out like that. But the
Well, you
second
need
time
to
I
you
went
need
back,
to listen to your gut. That's Greg could tell you that. You probably say it could have been anything. Your body, I think, picks up on maybe negative energies or whatever.
yeah,
Talking to all these people, and I've had weird stuff happen, and like thoughts like you better not do that, and then I do it and end up you
in
know
trouble.
in trouble or something happening. So you know what? I would rather be sitting there saying I don't know what ran me off, and be talking about it as somebody talking about. what happened
So,
to you
yeah.
Yeah,
on
I
David
wonder
Paulides.
what happened to this dude.
yeah. I don't want to be on missing 411. That's for sure.
So,
Yeah.
Greg, um,
Although that would save funeral expenses.
well, we got a question, Wendell and
All
Greg. I
right.
don't. Greg doesn't know I was going to ask you this. We think the name of your show is genius. Was that an accident, or did you plan that?
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking, what could I call it? And I had my little badge and said, well, let's just make it 911.
It's perfect. It's,
It is. Well, me and Rogers talked about it, Wendell. We was like, that gum Wendell picked like the best name for his show. I
Well,
mean, it really is.
yeah, I
well,
want if people's having problems dealing with this stuff, I figured I could get you two to come on with me with them to help them talk them through it and stuff like that.
well, I just got a message this morning. It's weird. Like you go all these years and then you tell your story, and it doesn't make you an expert or anything. It just people feel a connection. I guess I had a comment on one of my old shows today. A guy from Nashville was asking about somebody that if I heard anything about certain areas, and he was in Randy Brooks's area, and I just like, hey, you know, you can talk to him and see if he knows anything, but I don't know anything personally.
Yeah.
And I never realized when I started this that people would feel comfortable coming to you for, guidance, I guess. I don't know if I could help anybody. I got a story for y'all. Um, Last weekend, we were in Lawrenceburg eating, and there was a story posted about this lady having some dogman issues. So I sent a couple people messages. They're kind of keeping the location quiet.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, I'm almost over here. Uh, if you have an address or an area, I'd like to just drive through and look at the area. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to get out and whatever. So one of them answered back and said, hey, she don't want to give her address out, but she's a meter at so and so convenience store, gas station, and she would drive. You could follow her and come armed. And I'm like, I said, no thanks. I appreciate it, because I didn't want to go missing either. I was like, if I could tell Greg where I was going to be at and give him an address, if I go missing, this is where you start looking at.
I'll
I'd feel a
go.
lot better. But
Yeah.
I'll
being
just go
that's
weed.
secretive,
I'll go up there weed.
walk
That'd
in
be
there.
fantastic. Yeah.
But it was, man, I told him, I said, tell him, thank you, but no thank you. I have my wife with me, and I don't want to walk her into a situation where, get hurt or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was over in it was west of Lawrenceburg where you used to get that good shine at.
Yeah, that's some of that. You may get off into some of that the hills have eyes type stuff.
That's what I was thinking. we we might have been on the menu.
Yeah, man, I don't know. What you need to do though, Roger, is carry you a baby goat with you. That way, if things get bad, throw the goat out and run.
Yeah, sacrifice.
I was
Yep.
wondering about a squeaky toy if that would distract them long enough to get away.
Well, I don't know. I used to think I could carry a window with me and I could outrun him, but I don't think I can anymore.
Well, I don't know. I'm still not real. I'm not fast as I was either.
Mm.
I,
So,
I don't run no more myself. I just do a little fast walk for a little ways.
so how's it going so far with everything? With the
So far, seems okay. Uh, there was somebody from supposedly the BFRO got in touch with me last night about doing something. Well,
oh, hey,
I'll see if it happens or not.
that what from Alabama area or
Yeah,
see? I told you that name, Greg, he's gonna go viral.
He is. That's what I've been telling him for months. Windows going viral.
I
Yep.
hope so. I won't be as big as Roger and Spencer
No,
group.
no, we're talking about like you're gonna need an agent type stuff.
Yeah. He'll be up there. He'll be on the stage. He'll be on the stage with like Cliff Rockman and all them, and people be going, "Who's that dude up there with Wendell?"
Yeah.
If I'll ever get that famous. So.
Oh well, you
And
never
all I
know.
done was took pictures.
You don't
I
never know,
ain't
Wendell.
done nothing special yet.
You never know where this might lead. Heck, Flat Rock came on Spencer and Greg and them show and showed his stuff, and it was so amazing. He ended up speaking at a conference down there in Alabama. So you don't know
Yeah.
where this
Yeah.
might lead.
Hey, Ken does really good, man. The thing, and look, I'll tell you what. I mean, the thing about Ken is, buddy, when what you see with Ken is what you get.
Yep.
Ken is Ken all the time. And the man is just all he's doing is trying to explain to people what he's living through. He's not
Yep.
adding to things. He's laying it out there. And I mean, the wonderful thing about him, y'all, is he throws it out there and he knows a lot of his stuff ain't like the Patterson Gimlin film. But the thing about it, that's what he's got. He'll lay it out there and let you look at it. And if you see what he sees, good. If you don't see what he sees, that's all well and good too.
Exactly.
Hey,
Exactly.
He's not.
getting people in chat. Got OS,
Ken is,
Cryptid, and Misty's in there. Hey,
look at
y'all.
that. Look at that. Misty, you ought to be in here with us.
Yeah. She's
I
probably
don't
out
know
there in
if
the
I
goat
can
pen.
have 4 people on my thing or not.
You can. I think I can have up to 10, but I don't know what.
I'm on the free, so I don't know.
Yeah, check into it. You can have maybe 5 or 6 at
Yeah.
least, because they use it a lot for like meetings for business and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what. Yeah, with Flat Rock. Heck, I didn't know his name for a long time,
Yeah.
and I've been around him several times. You know, with y'all too, and shut up, Billy.
Okay,
But
Billy's somebody there.
but the one thing I was impressed with Flat Rock was Greg's right. He'll send you something, and it either be audio or a video or picture, and he's like, no, there's no pressure. Like, what do you think? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna hurt his feelings, and I feel. See, if I can do that, if Greg sends me something and I feel comfortable enough with him to say, Greg, I just don't know, he'll do me the same way. If he don't, and it's not gonna hurt my feelings, and you feel if you are like that, people will give you their true, honest opinion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That makes
Well,
sense.
the thing about it too with Ken, and that's why I've got a special kindred spirit with him, is because when I listen to Ken talk, I know what the man's going through. I know what it's like because he's dealing with the same thing I am.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, it's just a little different circumstances on the way his act versus the way the ones that I deal with act. But y'all, I mean, I know what he's going through. I know what it's like, and he's kind of in the same boat I am. He's not. Ken's not so much trying to convince people. He's just sharing what he was going through, and it's
Exactly.
on you. It's on you to make the determination of if you believe it or not. And look, honestly, y'all, I know what it's like because I mean, I could show people all kind of stuff, and I mean, look at how things can be so uh, easily done. I mean, you could fake all this stuff, and all these people fake all this crap, and that's the reason with me. If I ever suspect somebody, if there's something squirrely, if it's not right, I don't associate with them people because I can't afford to be associated with anybody that's just blatantly trying to falsify something.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I said, y'all Ken seen them. He's heard them. They come around his house. They come on his porch, doing him just like they do me. And y'all, I know what it's like. And I know people think that you got all these people out here that want to be the big name. I want, they want to be the one that proves it. I don't really care. I mean, because I think the more you put out there, yeah, but the more you put out there, the bigger targets you put on your back, and it's a lot of negative things could happen in your life by being too much in the spotlight. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and another dangerous thing to friendships is ego. I mean, none of
Oh,
us, we don't care. Wendell, right now, I promise you, if you go and and bring a Bigfoot to a emergency room and get him, and y'all become best friends, and you get $10 million out of it, I'm gonna be happy as everything for you. I mean, but what I'm saying is, you see people do shows and stuff, and they get big, and they they hi hat people. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
they they become in their own mind a celebrity, and what a lot of us are doing, you know, we don't have stuff all the time, so we talk about what's happened to us, or whatever, or let somebody else share their stories to let them get that feeling that we first got when we got it off our back,
Yeah.
and that's what it's about. I, I have no, I'm not, you know, I'm not in this
I'm
for.
just in it to have fun right now. That's all I'm
Yeah, and if in the process we can entertain some folks,
doing. Give
either
them
by
a little
being
information.
ourselves or talking about subjects and trying to learn, that's okay too. But like Greg said, the first time somebody tries to pull the wool over my eyes, I'm done. It hurts all of us. It hurts Greg. Hurts
Yeah.
the ones that are authentic. So
well,
I'm
I'm gonna throw this in there too, y'all. People are looking at all this evidence that's out there. That, well, we'll just say that's out there, that's public, that people can go online and see. There's a lot of evidence, and we've said this many times, that there's enough evidence by far. You could convict somebody of murder if you had half the evidence there are out there to prove these things are real.
yeah,
Uh,
Exactly.
but the thing that people are not seeing is the stuff that being in this and and I'm not saying a celebrity, but just being well known and knowing, not really you being well known, but just being in contact with a lot of people, and then they see kind of what you are and how you handle things, and that you can be trusted.
yeah,
There's evidence out there that people absolutely will not go public with,
yeah,
and you'll get to see things that everybody else don't get to see, that is absolutely mind-boggling, because there's pictures out there, there's video out there, there's thermal footage out there that people really hadn't gone public with, because it's like handling something that's radioactive. I
yeah,
mean, they're absolutely, they're afraid of what can happen if they release it, and there's really a lot of things. And I'll just be honest with you, there's a lot of people out there that are in fear that the government could do something to them about it.
yeah,
It ain't just the ridicule, but if you're handling something that the government didn't want out there,
Yeah.
they could make your life a living hell. They could absolutely ruin you for doing something that they didn't want you to do. And it
yeah.
doesn't have to. Let's just say this: it may not be on the up and up, or the legal part of it would go out the window.
I was in a
Well,
chat yesterday with somebody, I can't remember their name, but they posted a picture of something they took out in their backyard, and I took and uh, screenshotted it, and cropped it and made it where I could see it better. It has a fairly decent picture of the head of one, about uh, 10 to 11 feet tall. But, and I sent it back to him, showing it what I'd done for him. And I ain't going to show it. I'm not going to share it with nobody unless they say, hey, post this up for me or
yeah.
something.
Well, to Greg's point, Greg and I both know he knows people that I don't know. I know people he don't know that claim to have had hard drives and stuff wiped,
hundred
and
percent.
actually break-ins to take items. Uh, and what regular citizen is going to do that? I
None.
don't know of many.
No,
So
that's
Not
like
what not what they're taking anyway.
yeah,
Now, if
yeah,
you're just bringing
exactly.
taking all your stuff, that's one thing. To
Well, I know 4 guys that within 2 week period, every one of them's that's, and if I called their name, y'all would know them, but I'm not going to call
yeah,
their name.
I
But
understand.
I know 4 guys that within about a period of somewhere around 2 weeks, every one of them's computers crashed.
yeah,
And they lost a mountain of their stuff that they had, their evidence. But there again, I mean, like going back to the footage, uh, you know, pictures that I've seen, it was just like wow, and nobody will turn them loose. He's a buddy of mine. He he's in bad health right now, but he's got some of the better, if not the very best, FLIR images. I mean, he took video and pictures with a FLIR. They was a booger that came out in a kudzu field. It was like a field that the kudzu would have probably been, it was short. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like grown up in trees. It was out in a field.
yeah,
And the kudzu would probably have been less than waist deep on a man, a grown man, and this thing's out there and it's like knee deep. And I mean, both of y'all I know have looked through a thermal, and if you're looking at somebody on a thermal that there's nothing obstructing them and this and that, how y'all know how well they show up.
yeah,
Well, this Bigfoot was out in this field, and I mean it was unobscured. I mean this thermal imaging. I mean it's like looking at a light bulb. I mean this thing is showing up from head to toe, and our head to its knees, and it's absolutely amazing because you're looking at the thermal footage and the way it's built, and you can definitely, I mean, y'all look through the thermal, you know what it looks like. You can see if somebody's got clothes on.
right,
This thing didn't have clothes. It's like a light bulb out in this field. But that footage, you got to be a privy to know the guy to see the footage, and it's just absolutely amazing that some of the stuff that's out there. That's like Kumbo talking about the him and Troy both talking about the guy that was camping with him, and I won't say where, but the guy got some pictures, and it was with like a 35 millimeter camera because the guy had to go get them developed,
yeah,
and he came back and showed him the pictures, and look, there was basically a dog man standing right behind his tent, like looking over top of it, and the guy got pictures from like 25 feet away. And that's what Troy told me. He said, "Man," he said, "Look, these photos weren't blurry. It was a little dim because it was at nighttime, but there was plenty of light." And he said, "This thing was amazing. These pictures were." But that guy would.
that.
They said when he got back to the camp with the pictures, that he would hold them and let them look at them. He wouldn't even lay them in their hands and let them hold them to look at them. He would
I,
he would hold them, let them see them, but he would not hand them to each person because he was that gonna be that tight lipped with them.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you straight up that those pictures have never been public.
yeah. And I talked to a gentleman at the LBL. You know how a lot of people won't talk to you over the phone or send you stuff over the, whatever
Yeah.
messages, but they'll talk to you straight up. And he was saying the same thing. He had some clear in the, and if I remember correctly, it's a similar story to what Greg telling. Not exactly because I know that story too, but um, snapped some pictures, and one of them just happened to catch the light right, and there it was. And his he had his digitally saved, and everything went missing. So he don't know if they come in over the internet and wiped him off his computer or what. But and we can say that, and people that don't know us will be like, "Oh yeah, you can make that stuff up." But a lot of that stuff we've seen with our own eyes. I've seen some.
Well, I've had the technical people come in and fix stuff on my computer back when I had a computer. So, yeah, I understand people can get in your computer and do things.
Oh yeah,
Oh
and you know, I know, but the people that don't know us will say, "Yeah, they're full of crap," and I understand that because we're not showing you pictures. But the people that do know us, when we say we've seen some pictures and video, uh, since I started gaining trust, um, I've had I've had some amazing stuff shown to me, like in person. Like,
I
hey
have
man, and
too.
they won't send them to you. They're like, look at this. It's not AI, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, if the government, if they come out and give full disclosure of all this stuff, and people are not scared, then maybe you might see, maybe it'll flood the evidence will flood, but
yeah.
you're still gonna have people that's gonna, out of fear, they're gonna stick their head in the sand. So it's always gonna be like that, I imagine. So
Well, we got somebody. Well, we got two people now that's in the chat that's absolutely near and dear to my heart because me meeting them both in person and talking to them, been on their show, and me sitting here listening to their encounters and seeing their faces and seeing their body language, and when they tell their stories about their encounters, it absolutely just breaks me down with them because I know what it's like to
yeah,
talk about and go so in depth in your encounter that you had that's absolutely traumatic. And that's Katie and PJ both. I mean,
Yeah.
y'all look, anybody that's got any sense and can read people at all, if they'll just go back and look at the Woodwalkers show that we had with both, had Katie and had Pam both, separate shows. But if you'll go back and watch those shows, look, I know them women's telling the truth, 100%. I mean, I know it in my soul. But if you're any judge of character, if either one of them women right there is making that up, they're better than any Hollywood actress that's ever lived.
Yeah.
Because you can't turn that level of emotion on and off and come up with it unless you've been in Hollywood for like 40 years. And I know what it is, and I'm telling you, both of them. I mean, that's two of the shows that we done with people on that absolutely. I mean, y'all go back and watch. I mean, I'm hanging on every word they say, and I'm absolutely getting emotional with them because I know what it's like. And people don't understand. A lot of these people have never had an encounter. They're wanting an encounter, and that's why people like us, uh, PJ and Katie and myself, and then there's more, but I'm gonna call them out. That I guarantee you they'll be just like I am. They're gonna tell people, be careful what you ask for,
yeah,
because
yeah,
you do not understand what this is like, having to process that, and it's not like every now and then. It's every day of your life when you step out of your house, when you go to do something normally that you wouldn't think about doing. You have to process that, and it doesn't matter if you're riding down the road. It doesn't matter if you can be at a ball field in a wood line. You'll catch yourself looking at that wood line.
Yeah. I do.
It's
When I'm driving
absolutely,
down the road, I'm looking at
yeah,
the good line.
but it's
Right on
absolutely,
where I shine.
a level of PTSD because I mean it's absolutely traumatic. I mean what you see and what you deal with, and there's different encounters like going down the road and you see one or whatever. But when you're out there and you realize that your life's in danger, that what you're looking at could absolutely end you on a whim. It's totally different. I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling. Yeah, PJ, yes, exactly. That my heart. Look, my heart goes out to you, but for Katie, I can't imagine. And like Katie talking about her story, that's what worries me about my baby girl. Abby's not seen one yet, but now she's grown up around it. At least she's got knowledge about these things a lot to be her age, especially a young girl. But I just know that that's one thing in my life that I do not want her to have a horrible encounter.
Yes.
I do not
Or,
want that to happen to her.
Speaking of
or
her, she sent me a friend's request this morning. So
Yep. She's got her. Finally, let her get her a Facebook page, so she's all cloud nine. She's about to turn the big 13. She'll be a teenager April the 11th.
well, y'all and Greg, people that they believe in this stuff and they see it on TV and movies, and they're like, I won't have my encounter. You better be ready for the feelings, because it'd be no different. Let's say if you got somebody that didn't believe in aliens and a UFO landed in their backyard and it stepped out and screamed at them.
yeah,
That's the same. That's the same type, and you're gonna feel the fear and it's crazy the feelings that come along with it. Yeah, I'm about to get off here for a minute. I'll come back in a little bit. Okay.
all
Okay.
right.
All right.
But you take like this, Wendell. You take like, and I know, I guarantee, brother Billy right there. Billy's in this group right now with the encounter he had, because there's so much that doesn't make sense, so much that your brain's trying to process. And like for Billy, I mean, you're talking about a feller that lived a rough life, being in biker gangs and stuff like that, and then now he's dedicated his life to the Lord. But Billy's been in rough situations. Billy's seen a lot of things that a lot of people wouldn't see.
Yeah,
But he's having to deal with what happened to him down there at the last meet and greet, when he can't process the what happened after they saw the thing, and that's hard to deal with. I had never had that, but I've been to the point where a bunch of times where I didn't think I was going to make it. I thought, well, here it is. It's fixing to. I'm fixing to have to draw down, and we fix to throw hands, or I'm going to throw lead.
yeah,
But I didn't think I was going to make it back out of the woods. I mean, these things were upset. They were angry, and when you have a experience like that, or like Pam had, or like Katie had, it absolutely when you retell that story, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. When you tell that story and you let yourself go back into that moment, honest to goodness, it's so traumatizing. Even though you made it out of it, nothing happened to you, you got out of there, you were okay. The traumatic part of that experience is so strong. When you retell it, you relive it, and it's like you're back going right through it again. And it will absolutely, it's like it drains you physically and mentally for a while. I mean, it's like if I drop back into talking about some of the things that I went through, and y'all have heard some of them. If I go back and relive those, it wipes me out. I mean, I feel like I've run a marathon. I'll be absolutely exhausted. I mean, and sometimes it'll be it's like I have to sleep a few hours before I kind of get over it. And that's the reason I have to be careful on when I tell some of my encounters. I have to really, really pay attention and not go too deep in it. I have to. It's like you're clinging on to your mental sanity and not letting yourself. You have to keep telling yourself, that you're not back in the moment. And I mean that's hard for people to understand, but that's the way it is. I mean it absolutely you will feel all the emotions. You'll feel every bit of it. You are absolutely reliving it if you're not careful.
Yeah. And, I've watched some of these folks that they have ex- a lot of experience or experiences. It sounds like it's no way it can be real, but I wasn't there, so I don't know. But it makes it hard to believe everything you hear. But I'm not going to say they're lying because I wasn't there. Like Spencer said, I wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Well, Wendell, that's I mean, and that's what I try to caution people. I've dedicated more than 2 decades of my life to helping people. Fire department, law enforcement, rescue squad, search and rescue. Man, I've done CPR on more people than I can count. And you know what? That's the reason I finally came out and started sharing with people my encounters was because I realized there's people out there struggling dealing with this.
yeah,
And I realized that if I was keeping it to myself, I wasn't helping anybody. And if I couldn't do nothing else, I could be the person that they could talk to and knew that whatever they had to tell me wasn't gonna sound crazy because I've done lived through a whole bunch of crazy.
yeah,
And if nothing else, give people an outlet to, I could help be part of the safe space. The where people could talk, people could share. And I mean, that's the wonderful thing about the group of people that it's like we've all been brought together is everybody can talk and you know um, it's amazing. I mean, you take like Spencer and Misty and myself and Roger and we do our 4-way messaging all day long. We got a group text.
yeah.
And y'all, it's not all about the encounter.
No,
It's about close friends that you feel like family. And I mean, it doesn't matter what's going on in our lives. We can type something out whether you're having a great day or a bad day, horrible day. We'll text. I mean, one of us be aggravated about something or say something awesome or whatever, and we'll throw it in our 4-way group text. And it ain't just a minute. We got a reply, and it's really damn cool because you got somebody that you can talk to. Um, yeah, Katie, I wish I could tell you how to fully detach because I don't think I ever will. I don't think I ever will on anything. Not, I mean, I don't know it's possible, and I know it's hard to talk about it, but for me, retelling mine sometimes now, it's like I ain't gonna say liberates me from it, but it's gradually getting a little easier to talk about. It's still things that I don't talk about, but it's for me it's the validation of the people out there that's went through the same thing, and it's kind of the whole kindred spirit of it. That we got a connection. I mean, it's whether it's people that's been in horrific car wrecks or an accident. People that fought in war together. I mean, it's just like it's like a club that we didn't ask to be in. But when you got somebody, I mean, it just so many aspects of your life, like cancer survivors. A kindred spirit of somebody knowing somebody's went through what you went through. I mean, that to me that's what helps a lot, and that's like for me for me having, people come here, and I can't open it up to everybody. I have to have people that I truly trust to come here that I know is not going to basically break the rules that I follow myself.
Hang on, Roger. I get you.
Is of may not instigating these things here. May not calling to them here, but I've had so many of my close friends in this that's come here and had encounters. I mean, not everybody. Wendell and them didn't have anything. Which when you left too early, I tried to explain that to Alabama. If y'all had stayed later, we'd have probably had something go on. But y'all left that evening, before 8 o'clock, and then by 1 a.m., Gumbo watched one run by my porch, and then he got growled at. So,
and we talked about that during the day. I said, Greg, what are y'all doing? He said, well, I'm cooking, and he's telling. And I said, you know what? After all that activity up there, that's not really normal. I said, you may have something
if it
come
hadn't been
around.
for the storms, I'd probably stayed longer. But
yeah. Well, you left at the wrong time because you drove all the way home in the storm.
Yeah.
Y'all, I'm sorry. Heather pulled up in my car, and the Uconnect in the car connected to my phone and cut me off, and then I had to. she heard us talking. She said, "I knew y'all were doing a show." I could hear the car. Anyway, so sorry about that.
It's fine. That's fine.
Now I don't know what y'all talked about, so
I'm just rambling. Rambling. You can take the wheel now for a minute.
I don't know where we're at. I don't know where we're going.
We'll just start us a place.
Wendell, you can ask us some questions if you want to. Kind of get us started.
Now you put Wendell on the spot.
I know. Did you hear that?
I was just sitting here enjoying listening to Greg and watching the chat a little bit. And we was actually talking about how things feeling when you have these experiences. I see that, Roger. You see that?
No, audio. Just asked what was on my hat.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Just that's where I left off at. People talk about their encounters, and it's just like in any kind of work or any kind of job, or if you see something traumatic or go through something traumatic, it sticks with you in ways that some people can't understand. It's the same thing as with now me. I was lucky enough to have a long distance encounter, and I didn't have at first, and so I didn't have the fear. I had the regular fear. Now, when you fear a monster that you read about or see on TV, that's a regular fear. But when you have been traumatized, like Greg and like some of the stuff we've had later with the throwing the fits and throwing stuff at you, that's a different thing. That's a totally different thing, and that's the thing that stays with you. That makes you have nightmares. You wake up dreaming about dadgum the feeling more than anything, I guess.
that's
But
like
anyway.
having a 38 pointed straight at your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not fun.
I've done that.
That's not fun.
No.
There's a song about that, ain't it? Give me 3 steps.
Yeah.
Well, that goes back to also, like, I try to caution people. I really do, really do. And I know they think I'm being just, silly, or they think he's scared to go in the woods. But look, I'm not scared of going in the woods. I'm afraid of what's in the woods because I've seen the damn thing a bunch of times. And my encounters, most of them wasn't good. I was dealing with stuff, and that's like, when me and Mark Green and Mark's son found the 2 tents that had been shredded. I can't say that that's what shredded those tents, but I'm saying somebody left probably pushing $1,000 worth of camping equipment on the creek bank, and it was tore all to pieces and ripped and shredded, and They left there in a dadgum hurry. Let's put it that way.
Maybe you should have let Spencer spend the night there that time.
Well, I mean, that's all right. Well, let's just talk about this. I mean, I picked on Spencer pretty hard, but I tell you what, he was wanting to go down there and stay, and me going, I wouldn't, y'all, I wouldn't have went down there and stayed for $10,000. It wouldn't have happened.
I
No,
don't blame you. I don't blame you.
but no, him and Misty was like adamant, like, no, let's go camp. I'm like, no, nope, nope, nope. And for somebody to go in like to credit Spencer and Misty, we're not talking about people that's hadn't had an encounter and don't know what these things can do and this and that. I mean, they've had encounters themselves, and they were like wanting to go. Like, no, we'll go down. We'll have something happen. I said, yeah, but what may happen ain't what you want. Exactly. I was like arguing with them, like, no, no.
Well, the thing is, people want to have their own encounter, but here's what you got to realize: if you got good friends that know you're there, and you get in a bad situation, then you're gonna bring them in a bad situation because they're gonna try to help you. Yeah. So it's not just you involved. So Greg, you would help your friends. But I'm like Greg, I'd be like trying to prevent the whole thing from happening to start with. But that's the thing. The draw is so strong for people that've been so close without putting their eyes on them. It's like Peyton and Heather. They've had everything just about you can imagine happen, from things being thrown at them, the yells, the screams, the huff growls, the all of this stuff. And they've never laid eyes on one, and they still have this yearning to see it. And Peyton's like, I want to see one time, and I'm done with it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, do you though, really? I mean, like Greg said, they've had enough stuff happen to them, and we found enough footprints. We found enough other evidence. We've got audio a couple times that's been gone over by people who know this stuff, and that's enough evidence, like Greg said, to convict somebody of a crime.
Yeah.
Footprints.
Now, I'd like to have this experience like you had your first one, or one of these folks where they sit crossing the road. I don't want one to come up in the camp and say, hey, let me shake your hand.
Yeah. Well, Wendell, you're pretty brave that setup you leave the back door open all night, don't you?
If it's warm enough, I do.
Yeah, I'm gonna snatch you out by the boots.
Yeah.
Well, I figure if he's coming in the back, I have time to get outside.
Yeah. They quick.
Yeah.
Man, that's the other thing is, if you've not seen one of these things, there's no amount of, if you hadn't seen one in person, like especially a big one, there's no amount of explaining that I can do 100% that I can do to explain it, make it, to get you a mental picture of what you're dealing with. And when I say the absolute speed of these things, I've told people over and over, it's like we're sitting watching something on TV. You're going to see the natural flow of the way people move and stuff like that. And you can tell it's like normal. Everything's normal. But the very instant that I hit times 1 or times 2 and fast forward it, it's going to look really weird. And that's the way these things can move. It's like everything around them is in normal speed, but you've took this one figure that you're watching, and it's like it's hyperspeed. It's like you've just fast forwarded. It'd be like if you could pick out and just fast forward one thing on the screen. Everything else is in real time, but you're watching this being. We'll call it a being. It's moving and it don't make sense. It looks like some Hollywood production of, like where they make the I've told this too, like where the creepy thing where it'll be like down a hallway and it'd be like a humanoid, and it's like you blink and it's moved 20 feet and it's like it's jerky looking, or it just like it's just super quick. That's the way these things can move. And and best I can tell you, if one's after you and you run, you may run a little ways, but you're gonna die tired. It's gonna catch
Yeah.
you. You ain't
The
you ain't leaving it.
the stories that I've locally, uh, with Greg and Mark Green and some other people and some people I know personally that have seen these things drop down on all fours and take off. This best word to describe it, the acceleration is violent. It's if you ever go look at now I've never seen it before, but what I imagine to get a taste of it is go look up a silverback gorilla bluff charge and see how many feet he covers in just a split second, and then maybe double his size or whatever. Because those they have that what the gorillas have the quick twitch muscles. I don't have quick twitch. I start moving slow. You've seen people that can run 40-yard dashes or they take off running real fast or whatever. Their muscles are at quick. When you're talking about primates, a lot of them I've seen have that strength that people don't think uh, think about. These chimpanzees are so strong. People don't realize
Yeah.
they're dangerous.
And they're not
And
as big as Bigfoot.
no,
No,
so
no.
so the takeoff speed is I hear is just violent. When
Yeah.
they take they're gone, they're gone. I mean, and
Roger, when that all right, look, I've seen them. I've seen them. Three of the four that I saw were really good. I'm talking about, saw them really, really, really good. One of them, when I topped the hill, the one out of the four, I topped the hill and it was already moving, going across the road, across the highway, and I watched it jump out of the road down the bank and then go up in the woods. It was already moving. Now that thing was moving. We'll just say it was moving about as fast as a normal human could run, and it was walking, but it was traveling. It walking was like us running. Maybe not an Olympic sprinter, but a normal person. The other three, I watched these things go from dead stop and take off. And the thing they had in common was it's not like you see them accelerate. It's like they go from dead stop, and that's what's so weird about it. It's like they go from dead stop to it's just like and it's gone. I mean, it's not like you see it take off and then like start gaining speed. No, it's just like from dead still to, and it doesn't make sense. It,
Greg,
yeah,
when you're telling this story, it brings up something that happened years ago. It didn't don't have anything to do with an animal, but this redneck mechanic that I knew, or we all knew, he got into this outlaw go kart racing. So this guy puts a Evinrude boat motor on it, so the gear was 1-to-1.
oh boy,
When he hit the
just
gas,
turkey.
he went from he went from 0 to 90 like that. And there's a
Yeah,
difference in going through first gear, second gear, third gear, whatever.
yeah.
Uh, that thing was so dangerous that they were like, "Man, we're gonna take a torch and cut that up. You're gonna kill yourself." So I kind of get the picture in my head of what you're talking about.
They,
With seeing him
that,
take off in that thing.
the one of them, I thought about it a lot. It wasn't. I mean, it was a startling encounter. It wasn't scary. Well, I guess there was a level of fear to it, but not like when they were throwing a fit and bluff charging me and throwing stuff at me and screaming and roaring at me. Uh, but the one that when I went through that the big pine timber and went out and I was at the exact same place where everybody's heard me talk about the one that roared at the motorcycle. This was the same exact spot, but it was different times. But I'd snuck in there, and it was a lot of pine straw on that old road going in, and I call it a wagon trail because the ruts in there were like narrow.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah, and then there's an old dug well that's kind of collapsed in, and there's big old oaks and stuff like that. So it was an old house place, and I'd snuck in there, and it in the timber. Anybody's heard me talk? On the right, it was the old growed up cutover. My cousin's landline went like here. Well, then you had like the first part of it was these, I'm talking about gigantic pine trees. And they were so tall that you had a lot of underbrush under those. It was just vines and saplings and stuff, but just massive pines. Well, then you popped out in just kind of normal hardwood. But I could walk through those pines because it was mostly pine needles and straw, and you could walk really quiet. Well, I'd snuck, I don't know, 150, 200 yards and got out in there. And I got to where the leaves, it turned into like mostly oak leaves, and they were dry. And I've stalk hunted up on deer. I've shot a lot of deer laying in their bed. They'd be feeding through the woods, and I wouldn't be in a stand. I've killed a lot of deer, even with a pistol. I'll get out and ease around log roads and trails and just hunt with my pistol and sneak up on deer and me on the ground, ease up to them. And there's an art to that. I mean, learn how to walk in the woods, how to place your feet, how to absolutely be as quiet as you can, and knowing when to move and not to move. But I snuck out in there and I took like possibly 3 steps where, I was making as very minimal noise as I could in those leaves. I'm not tromping through, but about the third step, off to my left, kind of in front of me, kind of like at my, say, 10 o'clock, down this hill about 100 yards. It went down this steep slope, and it flattened out, and then it went up the other ridge. It was just, I'm looking down in a valley. Right down in the bottom, there was I call it an explosion. I'm talking about, y'all, it looked like you had a mound of leaves, big as a sofa, bit taller than a sofa. And this mound of leaves, sticks, and all kind of debris. This stuff just explodes. It looked like you had a mound of that stuff with a car. It looked like for 60 seconds, leaves are floating down, and they're just going everywhere. But I see this gigantic black figure just like bust out of it. And it just blows debris everywhere. And that thing takes off running. And it just split second. It goes from like the stuff is still flying through the air and it's already moving, going away from me. And it goes just, I don't know, we'll say probably 15, 20 feet. And then it starts up that hill. Well, I'm on this hilltop looking down at the bottom, and I'm watching it go directly away from me, going up away from me. And that thing is running up that hillside, and it's going through these, it's oaks and poplars and stuff like that, hickories. But all the leaves were off, so in the woods over there, it's really open. I mean, I could shoot deer over there at 200 yards. You just got to pick your shot.
Yeah.
But I'm watching this big giant black upright on 2 leg figure that looks like it's 4 feet wide, and it's running, and it's not going just a straight line. It's having to go dark, zigzagging, going around these trees. And y'all, there's not a professional motocross rider could be on the baddest motorcycle ever built, could have went up that hill like that thing went up through there. And I've got my rifle, and I'm just like, I know my mouth's gaped open because of what I'm seeing. And thank God it was going from the first time I seen it moving and I'd seen the stuff up, it was instantly moving, going away. So I can't imagine if the thing had busted out and been coming at me. That's a whole nother spectrum that I don't even want to think about.
Well, people say, "Well, I had a gun with me," but that you got a moving target that's zigzagging at you, and you're scared already.
Yeah,
People are overconfident and you can shoot a target all day long. You don't know what's going to happen when it hits the fan. You think it was bedded down?
Roger, that's what boggles my mind. I can't put it together. I don't know if the thing, I don't know with as much brush as came off of it. I don't know if it had a blind built.
Yeah.
and I was coming. See, I was angling toward it. I don't know if it thought I was going to come right down on top of it. It wasn't going to let me get any closer. I don't know what. I don't know what provoked that. I don't know, dude. It was almost like the thing was absolutely like it had been just. I don't know if it buried itself or it laid down there and
Right.
another one covered it up to hide it. I don't know if it had a structure. I don't know. I don't know if it had a structure built and
That's
it
interesting.
brushed it in. But dude, I'm telling you, whatever it was in, it absolutely. I'm not. It looked like you had thrown a stick of dynamite in it, and it's like it just went off. They was just stuff going everywhere. It was like, and it wasn't just like out both sides. It was like it went out forward, backwards, both sides, just like a cloud come up.
And then
And
OCST, that's what I was thinking. Maybe it was hiding, waiting for a deer to walk near. That'd be a
well,
pretty good hunting tactic. And
yeah,
David makes a point here. Says even a bear moves at lightning speed. You know, you get these people that go to these big national parks, and they want to take pictures of the cuddly bears and stuff. But if you watch where these things bluff charge, you remember the park ranger? I don't know if it was Yellowstone. Had a bear on the other side of the road, and he's like trying to get in between the people and the bear, and
yeah,
that thing covers what 15 yards, 20 yards in just a blink of an eye, and he
hmm
didn't
Yeah,
have hardly any
yeah.
time to react.
yeah,
I mean, you can have a gun drawn and it's not get a shot off. So
yeah,
that's what scares me. Like when you see, or even when you go to Yellowstone and you see the tourists out there walking and easing up to the the assault cows.
yes, sir. That's
They
what I was
don't
going to say.
realize. I've
That's what I was
seen,
going to say.
of course, you see the rodeo stuff, but I talked to a guy one time. He was standing in a barn hallway, and it was a tobacco built like a tobacco barn on one end, so it was open and had the rails, like 5 high. And he said he didn't know it. His brother's bull had come in in there with him and hung him under the rear end. He said by the time the first thing when he realized what was going on, he was coming down and he grabbed the third rail and he was hanging in the air, and that thing flicked him up that quick. If he said if I'd have hit my head on one of those oak posts running, he said it'd have broke my neck, it'd have crushed my skull as fast as I went up.
Yeah. Well,
So
Roger,
anyway,
like what you're talking about there, those videos of Yellowstone. Think about this. Those watch the people that's standing on the ground that's stupid enough to get up there close to them, and watch when one of those buffalo take off after them, and then watch the person that takes off trying to get the hell away from them because they've
yeah,
been stupid. But look at the difference in the speed of an animal that weighs 2,000. We'll just say 2,000 pounds versus a 190 pound person. There's no comparison. I mean, you're watching something that's moving that much mass and muscle, and it's like it's moving twice or three times the speed of the person.
yeah,
I mean, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Except even that's not comparable to what I've seen these things do.
right.
Oh,
Well,
the
another
last one,
thing, Greg, is you have an eye for it. I know it's the coordination. You look at the coordination of the animal versus the human, and then when you
yep,
see one of these things running, like you're saying, and it's dodging trees and over limbs and over down whatever, and I'm not going to say graceful, but uh, that's I believe that's the way God made everything for certain reasons, and um, that's enough proof for me right there. I've seen deer running through the woods and how I've seen a bigger buck running through and dipping the antlers and going
yeah,
through and heck, I know I couldn't go as fast as he was. So people have this false sense of security in a lot of different areas, but they these wild animals, even your farm animals, if you have a mad mama hen and she decides to get you, she's gonna
yeah,
pop you a couple times
oh yeah,
before you can move. So
Uh,
yeah, well,
I had a friend, Chippa Wolf. He had a buffalo. He had a bear. He he even had a mountain lion at one time, and he would bring them to the Indian powwows, and the that buffalo was massive. It was taller than I was, and the bear, it he had two different ones. One, the first one, he startled it, and it put him in the hospital. The second one, uh,
Sounds
he
like me.
startled. He's no longer here.
Oh no.
Wow.
And so
Well, me and Greg had that conversation about dogs yesterday or the day before, whenever. Um,
Mhm.
but the point we're making is when you see something, I don't know, conservatively 600 to 1,200 pounds in there, and it moves as quick and as quietly a lot of times as they need to, that's not normal. What we call normal
yeah,
behavior. But when Greg tells his stories, he does such a good job. He puts me there with him. And when he was talking about, and I swear to y'all, when he was talking about going away and zigzagging, the thought run through my head exactly what he said later was like, "Dadgum, what if it was coming to him?"
Mhm.
wouldn't have had time to do nothing.
No, you you would had to make sure if you did get a shot off, it was a good one.
Yeah,
Roger, why do you think I hunt with a semi-automatic rifle?
I know.
I ain't got
Yeah.
time to be working no boat.
no.
We'll send you out there in a single shot.
Maybe you should hunt with a Thompson.
No, no, no. No, y'all, and that's what I mean. If I spun this camera around right here, y'all could see part Roger seen them.
I've
I
seen
mean,
it.
that's like what Wendell seen them too. I mean, Wendell, you seen all the deer heads on the wall right here, and that's a drop in the bucket compared to what's at my house. I mean, I've got there's another 10 big shoulder mounts at the house. I don't know how many sets of horns, and just this room right here, there's 20 something sets in this one room, and there's I don't know how many horns in yonder. I've grown up in the woods. I mean, I can kill deer about good as anybody, and I've killed a lot of deer, but like I said, stalking up on them. I've spent lots of my life in the woods, but once you figure out these things are real and what you're dealing with, it changes everything. Everything changes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. And the stalking hunting is, like he said, it's an art form. I've
Mm-hmm.
practiced it and I've had fun with it. Like I used to get excited when there was a damp day, when the leaves and the forest floor is little
Yep.
damp. Man, you can slip around. But that's another thing. Like if you think about it the other way, then something can be slipping up on you too.
100%.
Um, the audio that we caught on the iPhone that Mark Newbill and Larry went over, and I was on their show for the first time. Another scary thing was I said, I think we got two screams on there farther off. And he called me right before the show. He said, Roger, you sitting down? I'm like, yeah. He said, there's some things that you didn't hear that it picked up. And there was two screams that we didn't hear. And there was other things. And I don't remember exactly what it was now, but you know, Heather has some of the best hearing I've ever seen anybody have. And the like an armadillo, it can't sneak up on you. So sometimes just a regular house cat can't be quiet coming through the wood. Turkeys, they're coming through. But these things, they either I don't know how to explain it. They're already there when you come through, but just thinking about the possibility of something that big being able to slip up on you is really, I mean, terrifying actually, because I feel like as long as I can see something, I can defend myself. I've
Yeah.
been in points. Greg has encountered this where one was his was running and he knew it was about to cross this wide open lane and he was going to get a view of it. Mine was 20 yards in front of me making noise and I couldn't see it. And my dog's laying on the ground shaking, and for when there's a threat there and you can't see it, that's the scary part.
Yep.
How is it doing this? Why is it doing it? And I didn't know anything like that existed on this planet. So anyway, I
Well,
get shook up talking about that one, but I
for
had to
me,
turn my back
Roger,
on it.
for me, look, I was I was in the whole ain't nothing but flesh and blood for a long time,
Yep.
till I finally seen stuff that was 2 and 2 equal 14, because I couldn't that little box of flesh and blood, I couldn't poke everything I seen in that box and close the lid. It
Yeah.
just wasn't happening. That one crossed that road that day, and everybody's screaming, and I got it. Not everybody's seen what I have. Everybody's hollering, well, they got clear hair shafts, and it distorts the light, and it's just a super camouflage. Whatever I had crossed that road that day, and look, I can't figure out anything it would have been, because I could hear it walking bipedal. It was circling the field, or didn't circle the field. It come down one side of that field. And not only could I hear it, I could see the saplings moving. I could hear it, and I could watch and correspond where I'm hearing it. And I could see these pines and small, like, hardwoods. I mean, we're talking about trees that's that big around and a little bigger, and they're 12, 14 foot tall, or I guess 10, 12, 14, random length. But I could watch the tops of these things spread apart, and they'd go way out, and then I could hear it crunching, and it was like it was taking its hands and pushing the trees apart and going through them. But I'd watch the tops of these things spread open, and then they'd whoop back, and they'd get still, and then on out as I'm hearing it go, I'm continuously watch some of them. Maybe some would lean over, like it was shoving them over, and it was just pushing its way through that thicket with basically no effort. I mean, it was coming around that thicket like just cruising along, walking, and it got there to that opening, and I've done eased my rifle up, and I'm leaning up like this, looking through the scope, and I'm like, okay, and this thing's close. We're talking 30, 35 yards, and what it was, that was the edge of the field, and like here was the edge, and it cornered, the roads here, and then just across that opening was more growed up stuff and bigger timber, but it's still all growed up mess. I'm thinking, well, it's an intersect. The road's here, and that thing's coming to it, and it's just barely out of the field coming around that edge. Dude, I'm looking. I'm in the rifle, holding it propped up on a shooting rail, and I'm watching. I'm looking across the rifle scope, watching it come up to that opening, and as it gets to that opening, I'm like, okay, it's gonna step out. Now that opening was clean, because we'd bush hogged it, and I'd actually drug a disc down it, so it was, soft dirt. And we'd planted some grass in it, so it was grass in it. But that thing crossed that road, and when it first got there, the noise and the movement stopped, and I thought, well, I'm going to be perfectly still, because if that thing, in my mind, it's made it to that opening, and it's either looking around to make sure the coast is clear where it can come across, or it's just hesitating and it's trying to decide, am I going to cross this road, or is it going to turn and go away from me and circle around where the road dead ends, and go a different direction, because that's going to put it out in the open in the daytime. Well, as I'm sitting here all these thoughts are blowing through my mind, dude, I didn't blink. I didn't look away. I mean, I'm focused on, like, right there, right here. It's right there. And I am staring at that road. Just a few seconds. The noise, the movement, everything goes from the right side of that road to the left side of the road, and it continues on. I can't explain that to anybody and make it make sense. I can't even explain it to myself and make it make sense. But whatever the hell that was plenty big enough to push those damn saplings way further than I could. And I'm not a little bitty dude. I'm 6'1". Right now I'm about 210 pounds. Back then I was probably 285. There's no way I could push those trees like that. I don't know. Look, we're talking about something. It would have been like a cow, a full grown cow or a bull coming through there, the way it's pushing these saplings over. But that thing crossed that opening. I didn't, when I say I didn't see nothing, I didn't see a shadow. I didn't see a glimmer. I didn't see a distortion. I didn't see jack nothing. And I'll tell you what else. They wasn't a footprint or track of any kind in that road. I I don't that don't make sense to me. That makes no sense. And it would be hard for me to believe if I wasn't the one that witnessed it. But that's what I saw happen. Or didn't see happen, I guess. I experienced it. But
But
yeah, there was nothing. I mean, it was like no light distortion. There was no, I'm thinking, well, shouldn't I at least saw some like the mirage stuff on the highway, some
yeah,
type of distortion? No, no, nothing. But they, like I said, it wasn't just pushing the sapling. I could hear it walking bipedal, and it was all kind of honeysuckles and sawbriars and blackberry briars. This thicket is just absolutely a grown up mess. I could hear the briars like it was like as it's walking through. It was like it was pushing in them. You could hear the leaves ripping off the briars and the like the briars breaking. I mean, all these sounds of something is plowing its way through that, and then it crossed that opening in that road. We'll just say less than probably 100 feet, and it crossed that road, and whatever crossed that road was basically, for lack of a better term, it was invisible. And I can't make that make sense to anybody. I
Yeah.
don't understand how that happened.
well, with you telling your story, it helped me a little bit. It still don't explain it, but to know that somebody else had a similar experience. And I've told Greg one of the hardest things I've ever had to do is turn my back on that thing, and
Yeah,
whatever it was, and get my dog out there and myself out there. And I realized later that this is 15 or 20 yards away in the open, there in the woods in an opening. And I told Greg, I said, I realized later that I was looking up at this popping. This sounded like it had resonance. Now I talked to Kumbo. It could have been a mouth pop with a nasal resonance.
yeah,
Um, I realized that I was looking 10, 11 foot up the whole time. I didn't realize that at the time, but when I get back and think about it, but Wendell and Greg, there was no, like I said, no glimmer, no shimmer, no nothing, but something was in front of me, and that is the biggest mind, that you
yeah,
could think of. When you've got a threat in front of you or a perceived threat and you can't see it and you should be able to see it,
yeah.
that's hard to deal with.
Yeah.
It makes you up, dude.
So, but it does help to hear Greg's story, and it helps to have Kumbo to kind of explain, that he's seen that before and heard that before, and the sound didn't make sense to me, but once he explained what it could have been, then now it does make sense. So, and it gets even scarier as you learn these things. But in that area we were in was probably one of my most traumatizing experiences with these things. I've told Greg a bunch of, we get talking about stuff, y'all. It's like a therapy session, and
Mm-hmm.
we've heard these stories several times, but it's like we have to like go over it and get it out. But when you can hear something throwing a fit, and you can hear it pick up a log, picking the one end of the log up, and you can hear me on the video go, listen, you can hear it pick it up and drag that log to it, and get kind of in the middle where it has leverage, pick it up and slam it against a tree. When you have the dead wood on the live wood, it makes a thud, and then the end of that log breaks and it helicopters through the woods, slapping limbs, and then bounces. You know what that is. You know what that sound is. And when it's picking up 30 and 40 pound, we'll say rocks, boulders, and you hear Peyton, he said, is it throwing? He said, sound like it's throwing boulders, because the same thing would happen. You wouldn't hear it pick the rock up, but when it slung it, you'd hear those same limbs slapping, not the same ones, but you hear the small limbs slapping and it's going through. And when it hits the ground, maybe hits another rock, maybe hits a tree, and it bounces 2 or 3 times and rolls and comes to a stop, you know, you know what that is. And there shouldn't be anything out there that can pick up a log and slap another tree with it. And then it's
Right.
taking, like he said, what we think was, saplings about that big around and just grabbing and just snapping like a number 2 pencil. And it sounds like guns going off, but it's not. It's wood breaking. Um, that's I called Greg. I told him, I said, this thing was pacing. This is where he, I think, connected with me. I said, Greg, it was just out of sight over there. It sounded, we saw some deer when we went in. It was the damp day. And like 7 deer ran off and we could see them and we couldn't hear them. But I said, this thing was so big and so heavy, it sounded like it was pacing in a circle, throwing a fit. And he went, I've heard that before. So it kind of makes you feel a little better. And sometimes we tell the stories and we tell them on shows and we try to help people, and it helps us too. But you can't top that feeling of the first encounter, or the excitement and the fear and all that. I thought I done walked into something I wasn't coming out of, is what I
Mhm.
thought.
Yeah. That I want to touch on that OCST. The ones and look, I think that a lot of boogers, there's that 100%. There's different ones, different types, and the way they move, stuff's different. The ones that I've watched here run, and this is what's so weird. It was nearly comical. Like a lot of people talk about them, like leaning forward to run. The weird thing for me, the ones, hell, I've seen several of them run. They don't run. These hadn't run like leaning forward. These were more like and that's what looks so crazy weird. On like some of the old cartoons, it would have, and I can't remember which one it was. It'd have the dude running, and he'd like take off. His feet was going so fast, it's like his body was feel backwards running.
Yeah.
These damn things, it's like their whole body, like the torso, is just gliding, but it wouldn't be like leaning forward. It would be like nearly like straight. It's crazy. It like you took a plumb bob and put it its down shoulder blades down to its butt. It'll be. I mean, absolutely. It looks weird because it's just straight up like this. But the legs. Now we're talking about big strides, but it wasn't like how we run, where we got our locomotion of our arms, trying to help propel with momentum. No, these things was like, it wasn't like its arms was swinging out. No, it was near like the arms are tucked down to their side and their body's straight up, and they're just, I mean, unreal how fast. But they're straight up, and the whole body is not. It's not doing this. It's just like it's sliding on rails. But the legs were moving like a damn blur. I mean, I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but that's what I saw. The first one I saw that stepped out and then wound up, started to go back and then turned and jumped up in the road and run. That was what was so crazy to me. Is like, you would think something that big would be kind of lumbersome and would be just all gangly. Look, no, hell no. That thing, it was like it had way better posture than any human I've ever seen it, but it was like its back. Now, when it dropped down, its arms trailed out. Now it wanted it like it just compressed. But when that thing jumped up and like it jumped up and stretched back toward the road, you see it stretch, or back toward the woods, it stretches, and that's when it stopped and hesitated. It's like, hell, I can make it, and that thing just pivoted. It pivoted around, and just like on that pivot, it's like that one leg was off the ground, and when it pivoted and when it faced the road, I watched this thing launch. It just kicks off that one leg, and it just flies through the air, and then that foot lands on the road. I've told people we're talking about 20 plus feet horizontal from down here to where it landed on the road was over a 5-foot elevation.
And I've seen
And
the
it,
spot. I don't think anything should be able to do that. It has to
no,
be jumping like a gnat or something or flea. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Further than it should have been. But we're when we came over the rise and he was telling me didn't we get out and step out there?
yeah. We
We got on
stopped. I think we got out and looked at it.
yeah, stepped down there and kind of looked at the road, how much higher it was, and it was probably about chin level
Yeah.
uh to me. So yeah, that's a
I
hell of a
mean,
jump.
I've told people, you take like let's say or a Toyota Camry car. That'll be a good example because a Toyota Camry from the asphalt, if it's in a Walmart parking lot, if you measure to like the roof of that car, it's probably going to be close to 5 feet. We'll just say that's close to 5 feet. Next time you're in Walmart parking lot and you see just a normal, not an SUV, but a normal car that you figure the roof of it's about 5 foot high. Step back and back up against the driver's door and walk straight away from it and take 7 long steps. That'll be 21 feet. And I want you to turn around and look at that car and tell me if you've ever seen a human being that you thought could stand where you're standing dead still and jump. Just no run and go, no not even with the run and go, they're not gonna do it. But that you think a human being could jump from standing dead still or actually turn your back to it and pivot around and just jump. And they could hit on top of that car and be running twice or 3 times the speed of a human when it landed on top of that car. I don't mean like say like if we jump, you're gonna see the impact where our body's gonna absorb it. When this thing hit the ground, it wasn't like it absorbed nothing. It was absolutely just like whoop. And when it landed, it was running. It didn't like absorb and compress. It's hard to explain. I wish that wish there was some way you could tap into my memory and see what I'm seeing right now because I mean in my mind it's like I'm rewatching a movie. But that thing was running and it was so fast. I mean, amazing at the speed. But it ran that one. I'll get back on to what I was talking about originally. That thing it wasn't leaning forward like it was leaning into it like somebody, a person would run. This thing it's like its legs was moving so fast that the gravity wouldn't pull the body forward. It was like the legs was running so fast that the body was like trying to keep up. Does that make sense?
When you're telling the story, I'm thinking about videos that I've seen of primates, like silverbacks, like they do the bluff charge on all fours, and they do the bluff charge standing up like that, running, and they kind of sounds like that, and you would think they might be built similar. So you can see videos of that, and uh, well, and also I've asked people about it. Hit me one time. I'm new to this, but if they drop, I've had several reports of them dropping on all fours and running off. But I was thinking, well, if they have the flexible foot, like we've seen their tracks, then if they drop down on all fours, you should see just the ball of the foot on the ground if the other part comes up. And I confirmed with a couple of people that saw it that found the half footprints, I guess you would say, or maybe a third of a footprint, the front part. So anyway, it's just so much, y'all. It's
Oh,
we're
it's
not
it's
and
crazy.
and we understand that there's people that watch and listen that's like, well, you don't have no proof. I I don't need it. Greg don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
We're just telling you. People tell us our stories, what we saw and all that. PJ, what'd you see? She tells what she saw. That's all we can do. Now we do have pictures and video of footprints. We do have audio recorded.
Well,
So,
yeah.
but that ain't gonna prove anything either.
No. The other thing too that I want people to pay attention to that I keep telling everybody, and I've been telling people for a few years now, I want people to really research and try to find somebody else that talks about one thing that I've tried to tell people. You know, if you hear them talk about the metatarsal break in the foot, everybody thinks it like when the foot steps, it bends in the middle. That's what they talk about. Everybody focuses on, like when the foot steps, that the foot will flex. And I agree with that. I think that's probably correct. I mean, I don't know. I'm just an old redneck that fixes broke air conditioners, has dealt with these things in the woods for years. But the one thing that I want people to realize, like for me, as far as these things climbing trees, I think the main reason that they can climb about anything they want to is that foot, not only will it bow this way, their foot will fold like this right here in the middle. I mean, you think about taking a human foot and folding it down in the middle of the foot, not just the toes down here, but I'm talking about like where we got an arch. That foot will fold just like that. Now, I don't know how far it'll roll on up, but I can tell you 100%, the thing will fold at a 90-degree angle.
Well,
Because I found all those tracks that come out of the river down here on a sandbar. The thing come out of the river. That sandbar of the bank went up like this, and man, it was, I don't remember how far. We'll just say probably 50, 60 feet. It went up that sandbar, and it was an island. And where that thing walked out of that, where it walked out of that river and walked up that, and it's just, I'm talking about snow white sand. And where that thing's footprint was, it would be like me trying to climb that if it was like a steep bank and that sand was soft and I was having to reach up and pull myself. It'd be like if I folded my hand and stuck my fingers in the sand and caught it to hold, instead of like sitting flat. That damn thing's toes and the front half of its foot was shoved straight into the dirt like that deep. It was like a hole. And where the hole come out, like a big oval hole was stuck in the sand. The back part, like with the heel and stuff, was with the print of that on top of the sand. So you had like the back half and the heel was on the sand surface, but down in the sand was this big oval hole where the toes and the front half of the foot went straight in. That foot was shaped just like my hand right there. It was like this was an arch, and the whole front of the foot was folded. And all those, every track going up that bank and they weren't more side by side. They were more in line. They weren't maybe exact in line, but they were really close to in line. And for me to walk beside those, I was taking at least 3 steps to its one to go up that same hill. And for me to go up that sand like that, my feet wasn't, lined up like this. I was turning my feet out, and catching. That way it was catching more, my
right.
foot angle.
Yeah.
My feet are turned out real wide going up that sand for leverage. Y'all, I'm telling you, these things will absolutely, their feet will fold like that.
Well, Greg, you told me that story, and I was thinking about that, and so I started looking at the tracks a little different, and so it made this makes sense. If they're flexible both ways, why can't they be flexible this way too? And you're talking about climbing trees. Well, there's another thing. I have found tracks where they were curved in the mud,
Yeah.
curved like that. And I was interviewing, I think it was Tim Vogel and his brother, and they had found some tracks on the side of a hill that was muddy. And I'm like, let me ask you guys something. Was that track that was up the hill, was it curved? And they're like, well, actually it was. I'm like, what if the foot is flexible enough that they use that as traction? Like you changed the angle of your feet, right?
Yeah.
So then there was another guy that had a track that didn't make sense. And we were looking at it. And then all of a sudden he said, now this track here, it stepped off of a muddy bank and it hit in some mud. And I'm like, hold on. So that foot there was the lead foot that hit the lower part. He said, yeah. I said, okay. So now this makes sense to me. I said, look at those toes, how they're cupped. That's what it looks like now. It didn't make sense at first, but now they look cupped. And then so there was a piece missing out of the track in this area. I
Yeah.
said, if it cupped your toes, maybe it pulled this part of the flesh up.
Loaded up. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, what do you do for a living? No, I'm trying to put the pieces together. Your story, stuff Kumbo says, stuff that we've seen. So I think you were right on the money. You knew what you saw, and that gives me ammo to ask questions like when people say, "Oh, it was muddy," or "It was the traction was bad," then I can ask, "Was the foot?" You know, when I asked him that, he's like, I think it was Tim, might have been his brother. They kind of looked funny. He said, "Yeah," and like, what are you thinking? I think it was trying to get traction with that bow or that curve.
Yeah.
And now look, I'm just a country boy too. And I don't have a degree in anything, but some of this stuff I've seen makes me question how it's possible or what would make it possible. And sometimes the answers are not that hard, but you don't know to ask if you don't see the evidence, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
but I think that was one of the better things I ever heard anybody tell me was you talking about that foot being flexible both ways.
Mm-hmm. But
And
that's what it just boggles my mind, though, Roger. Everybody talks about, you hear all these folks talk about the metatarsal break. Talk about it bowing this way, bowing it like up when it walks. But I never hear anybody emphasizing on that it folds the other way. And I'm like,
think
I
about it,
know it
Greg.
does because I found the tracks. And why in the world, if all these people, the damn experts, why are they not screaming that from the rooftop?
Well, think
Maybe
about
they
this.
haven't seen it yet.
But that's exactly right. The terrain that they're studying,
Yeah,
say out there where David is, that I'm gonna tell you that river mud and is slicker than whatever and it's different.
yeah,
That sandy stuff that y'all have there behind your place on that
yeah,
creek is I was shocked. It's almost like a beach, not quite like a beach, but
yeah.
it's of course it was slick, but I can see with it being dry.
Yeah.
So Greg, you may be, think about this. You may be one of the very few people in the world that has seen that.
I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder that. No
Yeah.
joke. I
Yeah.
thought that a bunch is like, it just, I mean, seriously, that's what it just, as soon as I saw the tracks, because I mean, I'm walking down the kind of like up here toward the top, because the island, it went up and it was a little bit of a flat and then went down the other side. And this thing it's just real narrow at the top and long. It's probably 300 feet long, and at the top where it's just a tiny island. It's long and real skinny. It's probably, I'd say, 10 to 16 foot wide, like where the bushes and all
Yeah.
that don't get covered. So when the river's all the way up, it's just a little narrow, skinny strip that makes this island.
Yeah.
When the river goes down, it just gets wider all the way down, a lot wider, but it's on a slope. But I was going to sneak down in that sand because I knew I could traverse from this wood line. I could get on that island and walk over here and then get out on the other hardwoods, and that's where I was going to go hunt.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you get off that island, it would get down and it would be dry. It wouldn't be really an island because it was on each end. It would pretty much be dry, and I could use that sand to my advantage because you walk in that sand, you're not crunching leaves. And at the other end of that, there was some water oaks, and they was 5 or 6. I'm talking about monstrous water oaks, dropping acres, and the deer was really hitting that every year. They'd hit that real hard, that one area, and I killed a bunch of deer right there. But I was walking across that sand, and out in front of me, I'm seeing, like you can see these holes, and
Yeah.
I get on up there and look. I'm like, the hell, and I see the actual, when that thing got to the top and it turned, it was walking the same way that I was going, kind of where it kind of leveled out. Well, here's these regular, I mean, it's sure enough just full footprints.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, well, okay, and I'm walking and looking at them, and I come back and I start going down toward the river, down that slope, and I'm looking at them, and I go down there where it come out of the water, and I follow it back up the hill, and I'm looking at them, but like I said, I'm just like on top of the sand. It was like the back half of the footprint, and the rest of it was just like this big ovaled in hole where the whole front of the foot, it like you just stabbed your hand and then folded it over.
And as soft as that stuff is when it's dry, I know people may not know. I've seen the stuff he's talking about, and that's very, very possible. And um, that's mind blowing. But that's why some of the experts need to talk to some of us, because
Yeah.
that piece of the puzzle, Greg, we keep talking about, like, might, they may be scratching their heads at their university, thinking this or that, and all, but to
Maybe they seen
that,
it and hadn't paid it no attention.
well, or right, maybe no, because some people are so smart they outthink themselves.
Mm-hmm.
When I if I'd have seen what Greg saw, I would have thought that thing was getting gription. You know what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we do the same thing. I mean, Wendell, do you wear cowboy boots? Have you ever wore
Nope.
cowboy boots? You
I
wear cowboy
have,
boots
but I
out.
don't.
You got to watch how you place your feet on certain things, or you're gonna turn into a skier.
Yes,
And trying to
sir.
walk uphill, trying to
Yep.
walk uphill. So
Yeah.
what even with the hiking boots and stuff, uh, you just change the way you do things because you don't want to fall and hurt yourself. So, and I've done that. But yeah, I think why it's important for all of us to talk. And sometimes I see the experts. I put myself in their place. I understand where they're coming from. I understand how they've been taught and everything. But I think that's a barrier also. I
Yeah.
think I think that's I said one time on a show, they'll, not all of them. I saw one time. He's full of himself. He's got a doctorate and everything. It's not any big name person that y'all would know, but I was listening to him on a podcast, and he was an educated feller, and he said, I'll listen to people. I just don't want to listen to basically Joe Bob living in a trailer that blah 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 blah. And I was like, oh, that's burning bridges
Yes, sir.
to stuff
100%.
that you're looking for. And I told the guy that produces the podcast, I sent him a message. I was like, man, I love all y'all shows because I've interviewed him. We're kind of buddies. He lives in Middle Tennessee now. And I said, dude, I've listened to all y'all's podcasts and everything. I said, that one fired me up. He said, yeah, we knew as soon as he said that we were going to get some Southeast
Yeah.
kickback. I'm like, well, I mean, but it's just on him, right? Because
Yeah.
matter of fact, I was out here on my mower. I was smoking a cigar and I was mowing the yard. And when he said that, I mean, I was fuming. But then I'm like, you know what? That's fine. Just remember him if he ever comes sniffing around. I'm like, no, no, buddy, I'm kin to Joe Bob. you
Yeah.
know. But anyway, y'all, I'm gonna have to. I could talk all day. I'm on my hips. This seat's, it's kicking,
Well,
screaming. So
we've been here an
Yeah.
hour and 42 minutes, so if y'all want to go, that's fine.
Yeah,
hey,
I gotta go. I gotta go to work, y'all. I gotta go finish up a job. It won't take me about an hour, but I've got a little girl at her grandma's she's out for AA week, I guess you'd call it. I guess that's what they call it now. Anyway, spring break. And she's wanting to go fishing, but she's wanting to go hit a few thrift stores. So I told her we'd have a daddy daughter day this evening. So
so I wonder what spring break would have been called at Misty School.
roll. That may have been it been like furlough. It may have been a furlough, temporary
Yeah.
furlough. I don't know.
Yeah, well, y'all be sure and show up upper pod 5 at the right time, or you're gonna get added. You're gonna have summer school.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they got got out of school. Why did y'all get out of school early? Good behavior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Misty
Oh
sounded like she
man.
was a trustee
But
anyway.
don't forget, I'm supposed to have Sarah Bignall on this afternoon at 5. So,
All right.
Okay.
Well, remind us, so we'll. I
So
think Wendell, I think that's smart reaching out to people in other countries
yeah.
because here's where we feel, Wendell, and me and Greg, me and Spencer, we've all talked about this. we don't wish anything bad on anybody. We ain't jealous or anything like that. And we know this. If all of us do well, if one of us does well, it helps the rest of us. So good luck
Yes,
with it,
sir.
and I hope it takes off. And
Well, while
um,
Yes,
we're
sir.
talking, I happen to think of something. We got the young folks that's coming along. I
yeah,
was wondering about getting maybe Abby and that uh, Daniel Barrett from over there and do a show with the two of them.
UK, yeah. Oh, Daniel, since he did my show, he's got a little bit of big time. He's
Yeah,
You know what I mean. So he might have an agent by now. So, but
Well,
he would be a good one to have on. But
but I would think
I
that
don't.
having a couple of young folks like them talk about their experiences and what they know would be a great show.
Well, let me give you some advice on that. If you ask anybody under 18, talk to their parents first, and maybe have their parents on the show with them.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Daniel usually has his grandmother with him.
yeah, exactly. She would. That's what do you call her? Nana
Aunt
or
Nana or something like
something
that.
like she had a name. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Me and her, they're good people.
Yeah, I've watched them and talked to Daniel a few times on chat.
Yeah,
So yeah,
he's a good kid. But
that
anyway, Pyro made it in on the end. You're going to rewatch Pyro.
Look there, Pyro.
hey
Look,
buddy,
He comes in
Pyro.
with them big words.
One of these days, I got to get Pyro. Maybe he's going to finally bite the bullet and get on Woodwalkers with us.
Well, you know what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to jump in the
he's gonna
truck
have
and
to
run
get
out
on
there
here
and
with
interview him
me.
live at his place.
Yeah, I'm telling you, y'all. Look, one of these days, I'd love to go out there and see Pyro. I've never been to Oklahoma. I'd like to go see Pyro. I'd like to go see Gary Spikes. Just look, maybe one day I'll be able to just, go on a redneck tour or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You could call ahead and say, PJ, they're going to have that cabin ready. Say, we want to stay there one night and hang out with y'all. Then we're going to
Hey,
see Pyro the next day. And then yeah. And then you could go all over the country. You know,
dude,
they'd welcome you in.
Roger, you know how awesome that would be to just be able, like, if you had like a month or 6 weeks
Mhm.
and didn't have nothing else to do and a pocket full of money just to load up and just go visiting folks.
Yep.
I wish
Just
I could have done
go,
something like that when I went to California.
yeah,
Well, look, when you make those trips, we made two to Wyoming. What I would do, I had a kind of in mind what I wanted to do, but at night I would plan the next day because you never know the weather. You never know. You might get in a town and it'd be really cool and you want to stay there and see it for a day or two. So
yeah,
those are the best, Greg. Those are the best type of just relaxing, no pressure. Hey, we got to be here at 5 o'clock. We got
yeah,
reservations at a restaurant at this time. I felt so free in Wyoming that it's incredible feeling to get up and Heather said, "You realize what you're doing? Hey, you're saying, hey, let's go see so and so. It's only 9 hours, but
yeah,
the drive is part of that's the part of the journey, and that's part of the visuals are amazing. The
yeah.
animals, Greg, them daggone the first pronghorn I saw, I thought that is one of the prettiest animals I've ever seen. By day three, I was like, these son of bitches are like rats.
Oh,
When I went through New Mexico, I, the bridges they have designs on them. It's just something different to look at.
Yeah, they're pretty, and you
Yeah.
can you can spot them. But man, I'd hate to have to depend on hunting them for food because you got a 40-mile-an-hour crosswind or a headwind, and them summer guns are out there at 400 yards. You know, the distance ain't a problem. It's the wind, and you
what,
can't sneak up on them because you ain't got nothing to hide behind.
what I want Pyro to do, I want him to plan for about next November, or this November or December, first part of December. He needs to load up and drive down, be sitting right here where he can go deer hunting with me some.
Yeah,
That's when our gun season comes in, is November 1st. And really we got really good deer hunting here from basically November 1 all the way up till about the third week of December. I
well,
mean
heck,
that
he could scout out some places for us to all have a mini meet and greet or something. I
yeah.
mean, I mean, run for a couple of days, 2 or 3.
He make it. He can find us a bridge to stay under for a week or two or something. I don't know.
That's right. So Pyro saying the pronghorns are nasty.
Really? Yeah. I would say out there again. I've never heard anybody talk about eating a pronghorn till right now.
Yeah, me
So
neither. I didn't even think about eating one.
I wonder if they like worse than a goat. Which now goat, if goats fix right, goat's edible. I mean, I
Yeah.
like it, but you better not let it get cold and then try to eat it cold and let it warm it back up because.
Especially, yeah, because it'll taste like a little hint of billy goat.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. My daddy and them, golly, growing up, y'all. Some people get panties in a wad. I was talking about eating, you know, feeding ourselves back in the day, right?
Yeah.
So, but my daddy and them, it was just so like, hey, it's July the 4th. Let's go get a goat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was old enough. I knew what was about to happen. So when I'm walking down there with them, I knew it was about to happen. Rachel didn't know what to happen, and she said, what are they doing?" I said, "Daddy got you a pet goat. Come down here."
Oh, Lord.
And she
Yep.
started screaming, and my mama got my daddy was. I didn't know she was standing there, and it was my pet goat. Who the heck said it was her pet goat? Like Roger. But I owed her for killing my pet chicken. So anyway, we
Oh,
y'all Southern goodbye. Thank you,
yeah.
Wendell.
Thank y'all for
Yeah.
coming on. It's
Yeah,
been fun.
yeah,
Enjoy it, Wendell. Thanks for having us, and we'll see y'all later.
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Bye bye, y'all.
Take care of
Big
that
love,
fan belt
everybody.
karate you got though.
All right. Let me hit this end button up here. Oh.